This for my north side,
Kiara.
south side,
Kiara.
east end,
Kiara.
west end,
Kiara.
for my H-town,
Kiara.
Seafield,
Kiara.
804,
Kiara.
we them real
Kiara.
niggas, yeah. 2 up, 2 down, rich town. 2 up, 2 down, rich town. 2 up, 2 down, rich town. Rich town.
Welcome to another episode of the Kiara Lee Show. I'm Kiara Lee, and today we're talking about colorism once again. I know I did an episode before on colorism where I showed my documentary and it talked about what colorism was and interviewed some people about their experiences. Well, today I wanted to switch it up a little bit, and we're having a conversation about men and colorism. But before we go into the conversation, I want to throw out a few stats for you guys. A recent study from Villanova found that a sample of people who were given pictures of light-skinned and dark-skinned men, and they had to rate them as smart or not smart, or, well, overwhelmingly so, the people that were sampled rated the men that were light-skinned as smarter. And this was just based on photographs, and that was in 2012. A similar study from the University of Georgia found that people preferred light-skinned men to work for them regardless of their education or their experience, their job experience. And studies across the board have shown over and over again that dark-skinned women are much less likely to get married than light-skinned women. So just to put into perspective this whole thing with colorism, which is discrimination within an ethnic group based on complexion, where overwhelmingly light skin is valued over dark skin. And so I just want to open up the conversation and start. I want to ask you all, have you ever been treated any kind of way because of your complexion? Have you been treated badly? Have you been treated better than others?
I've definitely experienced some negativity from other black people based on the color of my skin, or based on me being lighter than them. When I was in middle school, a lot of people told me that I was based on the color of my, well, not based on the color of my skin, but just by first meeting me, they told me that I was very arrogant, and that I thought I was very high-minded, and always thought that I was better than other people.
I've never had any incidents like that, at least not yet.
I work in a middle school, and I definitely see it a lot every single day in the school, just in the, the budding relationships that are growing in with the students in the school, and they constantly make comments, and I mean, I'm sure we dismiss them, and like I know when I was growing up I kind of dismissed those comments, but now that I see it and I understand like the effects that it has on the kids, they stand out a lot more now, and when I see them and I hear them make the comments, and I look at the expressions of the kids in their faces, the expressions on their faces, I realize that it does make a difference in how they interact with their peers and how it affects their self-confidence. So I do think, at least in the middle school I work in, that the kids are affected by it, and the joking comments that other kids make.
And how do you think, Stephanie, this makes the kids feel when they're treated differently or teased because of their complexion?
I mean, you see it in their self-confidence. I mean, some of them are able to ignore, and they have the maturity to ignore the comments. But for those who don't, I mean, you see it in the way they interact with their friends and the confidence that they have. You can just tell just in the comments that they say about themselves. And I mean, I know we have, there's one girl in a class that I support who's mixed, but she identifies as black. And she gets really emotional, and she gets really upset when somebody else in the classroom imposes on her thoughts and her feelings about herself, telling her what she is and what she's not because she's so light-skinned.
So have any of you all ever felt that you wanted to be a different shade or wanted to change the shade of your skin?
I guess not, well, kind of. Like, I think it would be kind of, I don't know, easier to get, jobs or move further in life in some way. I've I've definitely seen it happen for other people, just based just on their skin complexion, just because they're a little lighter, they, you know, got a better job or a better position. They don't have to work as hard. Not saying that, you know, I'm not a hard worker or anything, or they're not hard workers. It's just they don't have to jump through as many loopholes or get denied as many times, just because they fit the appearance of what the business usually wants to have.
Do you think that men perpetuate colorism, and how so?
I think men do perpetuate colorism. And I have a friend who I'd always hang out with socially, go downtown, hang out at a bar or club, and the women that he looked for and sought were white or light skinned, and he just said that they have less attitudes and that they're not as bossy, and they're easier to approach. He said, yeah, he used the word approachable.
Like, I prefer lighter skinned women simply because my experiences with darker skinned women haven't went as well, because they do have the attitudes and they are bossy and they want so much from you and they want to give so little. But there's probably a whole bunch of dark skinned, you know, girls or women who are not like that, but they're far few in between. You know, from my experience, it's kind of hard to find those girls. But I don't know, I could be friends with them, you know. I don't like discriminate. Like, I could date a dark skinned girl. It's just that they're just not genuinely who I would go for. It would be easier for me to approach a light skinned girl as opposed to a darker skinned girl, simply because of the attitude that I think they might have, or the way that I think they might be, which is, you know, generally, from my experience, how dark skinned girls usually are. So
what do you two share the same experiences, or you think that dark skinned women have?
I don't really have a preference. I mean, I've been in multiple relationships. There have been some with the darker skinned girl that went good. There was some that went bad. It's the same thing with the light skins. But as far as me, myself, no preference.
I think black women are beautiful, but I don't have a preference in shade or color.
Okay. So, if you were to have a daughter that was dark skinned, would you have the same kind of preconceived notions about her because of her dark skin?
I would raise her to be herself, basically. Like, I would say basically how I raise my daughter, she wouldn't need to be so strong and have the attitude at all times, and, you know, inconsiderate, and she'll be, you know, independent, you know, basically.
So you feel like dark-skinned women are raised to be with bad attitudes and aggression?
I feel like light-skinned girls don't generally have that attitude because life is a little easier for them than it is for darker-skinned black women.
Having the opinion of, okay, dark-skinned women are bad, so I'm gonna go for light-skinned women. Do you think that helps with the whole construction of colorism, the whole discrimination based on complexion? Do you think when men try to avoid dark-skinned women, does that help the cause?
Well, definitely doesn't help it, but it's like my preference, basically. Like, it's like a combination of both. It's like, it's my preference, and I want to avoid being yelled at and stabbed.
In the media, you see light-skinned females, and when we have, I don't remember her name, Lupita Nyong'o or Nyong'o, she's this, okay, cool, we have a dark skinned actress. So that means we're accepting now. Because we have this one dark skinned, successful, popular actress. But when we look at all the other movies that are receiving all these awards, I mean, I can't really name off the top of my head too many dark skinned actresses. You see mostly the Halle Berrys or Beyonce's.
So just lighter skinned black women.
Even comparing Beyonce and Kelly, I mean, which one's more successful? Which one was, the lead singer? Wasn't the dark skinned one?
I don't know if that was based on their complexion.
Well,
What do you think?
I think it was based on talent.
So it's like a just so happen thing that every channel you turn through, everything you see, the lighter skinned person just so happen to always be more talented than the darker skinned person.
One specifically, the Beyonce and Kelly.
Because you can click on TV right now, flick through every channel, all you're going to see is white skin.
So do you see any relationship between your thoughts about dark-skinned black women, any correlation between that and the images, the amount of images we see of dark-skinned women versus light-skinned and white women on TV and in music and in the media in general?
I don't know, kind of. Like, I don't know, for me, it's like I think I'm not helping the cause, but it's just, at the end of the day, that's just my preference.
Well, I have a few quotes here from different people in the media that pertains to colorism, and I just want to talk about them. Back in 2010, Senator Harry Reid has said that the only reason Barack Obama won the first election was because of his, quote, light skin and, quote, lack of Negro dialect.
What exactly is this dialect they speak of?
speaking.
Good question.
I would also like to know what a Negro dialect is.
I mean, we all know what it is.
No,
But I don't
seriously,
agree.
seriously, what exactly is it because we don't
Using constant slang, ebonics, curse words to identify specific items or people.
Why did that come to represent Negro dialect as opposed to just poor dialect?
It's just, I don't know, to me it just seems like that's just how the world sees it.
It bothers me that he associates, with something that's not proper or not politically correct to be Negro.
So what do you guys think about him saying the only reason he won was because he was light-skinned?
I definitely don't feel like I voted for him because he was light.
I question the amount of darker skinned potential candidates that didn't become senators that he might have competed with, or that other white people might have competed with across the country. Like, how high can you get politically if you're dark skinned? And I think it's pretty ironic that the first black president that we had just happened to be light skinned. I think he's, by far, in my political opinion, a hardworking, great candidate. But I do question, it does make me think, well, how many potential great dark-skinned candidates did we miss an opportunity to vote for in the election? I do think he had and still has an advantage because of his skin tone, because that's what our society values.
So I have a quote from J. Cole about colorism, and I want to read it and see what you guys think. And he says, "Those mental chains are still in us. That brainwashing that tells us that light skin is better, it's subconsciously in us, whether we know it or not. Still pursuing light-skinned women. There are some women out there that are like, I don't even like light-skinned men, and that's fine. but Barack Obama would not be president if he were dark-skinned. You know what I mean? That's just the truth. I might not be as successful as I am now if I was dark-skinned.
But I think it is like, it's we do have that subconscious thing, and I think it's because of the school system, basically. Like, we were just brought up to believe in white supremacy, and white is just better.
Definitely in the schools. What my middle school had done for Black History Month is basically they had told, or at least my class had done, is they had told everybody to research a specific person or like person in Black history that no one really knew, that wasn't really well known. And most of the not well known ones were definitely darker skinned.
But that's incredible that your teacher facilitated an assignment like that.
I mean, that could also be because she herself was a lot darker skinned.
Back to the quote when J. Cole is saying that when we think light skin is better, it's brainwashing. Do you think that your preference for light skin is a preference, or is it, like he's saying, something that's bigger than that, a brainwashing, something that's been ingrained, something that's systematic?
To be honest, I could have been brainwashed. I could be brainwashed.
That's because
Everything I see,
the media.
everything I see is just white and light-skinned women are always betrayed as more beautiful than darker-skinned women. And I guess in a way, I probably am brainwashed, but I can't undo that. It's like, that's just what I like. I was brainwashed into that, so.
So you think there's no way to embrace dark-skinned women more, or dark skin in general, to value it more?
Probably not in our generation.
Individually, yes.
Individually?
I would say yes, but collectively,
Yeah,
no.
that's a good way to put it.
Do y'all agree with that?
I'm an optimist. I think things can always improve. Things can definitely get better. I think that it probably is definitely very prevalent in our society, but what steps are we really taking to changing that as a society?
I mean,
That's why I say individually, definitely. Collectively, no.
I mean, I grew up with the same mentality. Like, I thought I was a little, not just advantaged, but a little prettier than the darker skinned girls. And I was glad I wasn't super dark, because I knew how they were treated. And like, the first guy I dated in high school was extremely light skinned, and he had the hazel eyes, and he was a complete jerk. But I was proud that, like, that was the guy I was dating. And then as I grew up and matured, and I experienced dating much darker guy, I mean, I think I had a good experience dating a dark-skinned guy with an accent from another country. And I personally feel like I've grown and matured, and I've broken away from stereotypes that I've had for guys. So I feel like, I mean, it doesn't seem like you've had similar experiences, but I think we should be optimistic.
It's like everything. You can see a shampoo commercial and all the girls are light skinned. Buy this shampoo, it's amazing for our color. But, it's just in everything. You have a Burger King sandwich. Look at this light skinned girl holding this sandwich. Buy this burger. It's amazing.
There are some rappers that are really trying to break this. 2 Chainz and Kendrick Lamar are just 2 rappers who have at least on one occasion like made the conscious decision that all their video girls in a certain video were going to be dark skinned because they feel that they're so poorly represented in the media. And I just think it's important to just highlight the people that are thinking about these things. You know, not all rappers are just putting a certain kind of girl out there. Some are really being conscious and saying, hey, look, these girls aren't getting no love. I'm gonna put all of them in my video and show people, you know, that they're beautiful and that they are
I
loved.
think that's a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah, that's great.
Because a lot of people look up to rappers and singers and people in the media. They kind of set the standard for like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So that's a very good step.
Where do we go from here? Like, we've been saying that this stuff's going on and it's horrible and it's brainwashing and that men can perpetuate colorism on women and that women only see these images on TV and stuff. So what do we do? I mean, is there any way to avoid colorism or to protect yourself or protect other people from colorism?
I think it all starts with us as individuals just actively making a conscious decision to stop. And when you can stop yourself, then you can start working on the communities. You can start working on, I guess, just breaking the cycle and stop no longer perpetuating it.
I think we have to be conscious of the decisions we make. Once we are able to reflect continuously on our lives and our decisions, then we're able to take that step. I think first we have to think about, you know, what are my motives for the actions that I take? And am I being a little unfair? I mean, I'm not perfect. I know I do it and I've done it in the past. But making efforts to contribute to this movement of transforming society and eradicating colorism, I think, starts with reflection.
Yeah, I think definitely be more conscious in our decisions. Just not treat someone else, you know, better because they're light skinned. But then, like with me, it could be looked at as in a different way. Just because I prefer light skinned women, darker skinned women might look at me like, oh, he's not down for the cause, but it's my preference. So there's always a good and bad to like every situation. So
It's a coin flip.
yeah.
But why is that your preference? Why has it been instilled in you that light skin is more beautiful? I think that's what it really comes down to.
I think
Experience.
so too.
I mean, things just, I've seen black women, dark skinned women that are beautiful. They're far few between.
Just his experience.
Yeah, it's just the situations I've been in. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't date a dark skinned girl, because I would. I've dated plenty of dark skinned girls. It's just, hasn't worked out too well. But the light skinned girls, I just have it's an easier time. I feel less stressed with a lighter skinned girl.
If we have men that are thinking this way, that are saying that dark-skinned women that are beautiful are far and few in between, how do we get our men to lift up the darker-skinned women and to make them feel beautiful and to make them not feel that, well, we're dark-skinned, but it's one in every 150 dark-skinned women is pretty?
I mean, I think it's unfortunate that people think that way. There's so many more great dark-skinned women that exist in the world, and in my experience, they haven't been few and far between. I mean, I have a lot of great friends who are wonderful females across all shades, races. And they're great people with such great qualities. And I would hate for somebody to look at any of us or to have this preconceived notion, but it's a little disheartening. But I think we have to, as females, stay positive and not be discouraged, as hard as it can be. And show that, you know, we can continue on. And continue to be an example of, you know, what it means to be a female, not just a dark-skinned or light-skinned female.
I want to thank y'all for watching. And I just want to reiterate for anyone that's watched that black is beautiful. No matter what shade, what shape, size, color, it's a beautiful thing. And we have to all fervently believe and buy into the fact that black is beautiful. We have to, like you guys were saying, reflect on the present, the future, and the past. We have to think about the historical implications of colorism from the roots in slavery, from when slave masters separated slaves based on complexion, from house slaves being kept inside because they were lighter and they were favored, to field slaves being kept outside because they were not favored, to the 20th century and the brown paper bag test that determined what clubs and churches and sororities you could join based on your complexion, to the doll test that showed children preferring light skin over dark skin. We have to take all that into consideration. We have to take in consideration the present, the images we see, the people we're around, everything, what we're reading, what our kids are reading, everything. Because all black is beautiful. And thank you for watching the Kiara Lee Show.
This for my north side,
Kiara.
south side,
Kiara.
east end,
Kiara.
west end,
Kiara.
for my H-town,
Kiara.
Seafield,
Kiara.
804,
Kiara.
we them real,
Kiara.
yeah, 2 up, 2 down, rich town, 2 up, 2 down, rich town, 2 up, 2 down, rich town,
Kiara Lee Show.
rich town.